Dum-dum.
This is your boy Keith One Time Thurman. Tomorrow, December 8th, Sunday, 1 p.m. We have the Bucks taking on the Colts. I'll be there doing the coin toss right before the kickoff. Don't miss it.
To the left side, it is a caught ball. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Chris Godwin. It's been the Chris Godwin show today in Atlanta. Kamara running downhill. It's going to be hit and runs to the 42. Good golly, hit right underneath the chops by Levante David. Oh, the 20 to the 15 to the 10. 5. Mike Evans. Touchdown, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Here's the snap to Ryan. Ryan has time. He's pressured. He's going to be hog-tied and tagged by Vita Vea. Vea's got a touchdown and a sack in the same game. Here's the snap. Tannehill looking left, flushed out. He's going to go down. He's sacked back at the 33. Loose football. Shaq Barrett gets the sack. That's under pressure again. He goes for the football. It's a loose football.
You're now in the Sports Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense. Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, live here from Ferg, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. Whether we're going to watch the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Tampa Bay Rays, or of course the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, home of Bucks Report, and of course the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay. And we'll see today, Bucks versus the Colts. If the Bucks can continue this winning streak 2 in a row, they want to make it 3 against a Colts team right now that's desperate for a win after losing 2 in a row at 6-6. Should be a good one.
Yeah, it's not a trap game. I mean, Indianapolis has got a team. They had a team ready for Andrew Luck to go into this year. They didn't foresee that Andrew Luck's injuries would thus end up making him retire. And, and they've been doing okay. They've been doing okay without their franchise quarterback. So they did have a team in place. So the Buccaneers, to say that this is now next week in Detroit, depending on how the outcome of today's game, that could be a trap game because Detroit's just been abysmal this year. But the Indianapolis Colts, they give us a good fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And, of course, we'll take your phone calls, 813-699-5353. That's 813-699-5353. And this is a team that has definitely gone through their fair share of adversity, first losing their franchise quarterback in Luck, having Jacoby Brissett. Brissett didn't play so well last week. 2 interceptions, 1 touchdown in the last 5 games, has had a quarterback rating of lower than 85. But the story is going to be in the matchup to watch for is this big-time offensive line versus this Bucs defensive line in Vita Vea and the Ndamukong Suh.
Right. Great matchup. And like you said, like I was alluding to, they have that offensive line in place because they knew going into the season, even with a healthy Andrew Luck, they were going to have to protect that franchise quarterback because of his injury history. But now Jacoby Brissett's surrounded by a pretty good offensive line. And that's what one of the most exciting things about this for me. I mean, we're not even talking about the mathematically eliminated. We're not talking about the 3 in a row. All that'll be great. We'll talk about that later. Right now, it's this improving Buccaneer defensive line.
Yes.
And these linebackers, if the Colts can get past that defensive line versus a pretty good offensive line and an offense for the Colts.
And we're live here on Bucks Report on Facebook. Also, your surprise of the day, we're on Twitter and also YouTube.
Tweet.
So there you go. We have expanded our platforms here. And, of course, we'll take your phone calls. As always, this is the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Once again, we start off the sports web with bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. Again, I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. The other big-time story of the week, what Arians didn't say. We'll go to his comments here live on the sports web, live from Ferg's. Here we go.
I'm going to pass on that one. I'm going to wait till the end of December. And there's been really, really, really good, and there's some been really, really bad. And I'm just going to pass until it's over, and then we'll make a decision.
So there you go. That was the big time story. What he didn't say, he didn't commit to Winston for 2020. A lot of people made a big deal about that. But to me, I think he's just playing it like he's always said. They're going to evaluate him at the end of the season, and that's the way it should be.
It's a business, right?
Right.
I mean, we say this every week, all off season. The best thing about the NFL is it's a 365 business now. But even if one of these delicious Ferg's hot dogs.
Oh, yeah, they got great food, great service, been around since 1992. I mean,
right?
You got the food in the background. Show them the food.
We got to do it.
That's potato chips right there. You ate the whole hot dog.
That's my pickle. let me show you the food plate.
You had to go there with that, didn't you? You had to do that. I knew you were going to do that.
But my point was, and I said this immediately when they made the big deal about it, and of course we said it in our little chat group. I said, I get it. Maybe behind the scenes, it's all. I would like to think that there's already a plan in place to be signing Jameis for a 2 to 3 or 5 year plan, or maybe they've already decided that Jameis is going to get the big contract, or they end up deferring back to that franchise tag. The thing is I don't need you, Bruce Arians coach, to come out and say he's definitely our guy. We're going to make it happen, because then Jameis's camp is thinking, all right, we're just going to take a hard line stance and say, give us all you got.
That's it.
And then we'll see what else is out there. It's a business. Jameis likes it here. We love Jameis here. Well, we're liking Jameis here so far, ain't we, this year? Mm-hmm. So let it play out. It's a business. Let's just do it that way.
Yeah, let's just do it that way. And, a lot of people assumed, namely ESPN's Trey Wingo, that basically the Bucs are going to move on from him. And this is actually what Rhett had to say. Rhett Matthew of Cannon Fire Podcast, which is seen here on Bucs Report, Best of the Bay podcast. Here's what Rhett had to say here live on Bucs Report.
The quote is in response to someone asking him about Jameis being the quarterback for Tampa next season. He kind of dodged the question. He said, I'm going to pass on that one. Mm-hmm. He said, there's been a lot of really, really good. There's been a lot of really, really bad, but I'm going to wait until the end of December to make that decision. Now, so far, since that quote has come out, I have seen multiple people take this quote and twist it into something else. Most notably, Trey Wingo, big name NFL analyst. Maybe you've heard of him. He said this in a tweet. He said, Bruce Arians said yesterday he's passing on the idea of Jameis Winston being the guy going forward, which is not the case whatsoever. Like, that's not what was said. That's not the quote. And that's an example of national media who really don't pay attention to the Bucs in that manner, taking a quote and just twisting it to a narrative.
So there you go. That's the narrative right now. I mean, because he didn't say anything, basically you move on from Winston, and I don't think that's what he said at all. Basically, he said we're going to evaluate, take our time to evaluate, and look at the situation. And last week, over 250 yards of passing, no touchdowns, but no interceptions. He did have the fumble, and the reason why he had the fumble, Ronald Jones missed the block. He was benched for that.
And, no interceptions, no fumbles, no touchdown passes, or no interceptions. But I'm still thinking it's literally one of Jameis' strongest performances of the year.
Yeah.
Leadership-wise, going out there on the field, doing what you need to do and not making that mistake. The offensive line blocking for him and that defensive line stepping up. That's exactly what you want in your franchise quarterback. That's what you want in your leader.
Yeah, and you look at the defense for the Colts. They're coming in here banged up a little bit. They're missing a corner and Kenny Moore the second. Malik Hooker is banged up. So once again, it seems like the Bucs have a favorable matchup. And I thought the most surprising thing about the win last week versus the Jaguars was the stepping up of Brashard Perryman and O.J. Howard.
Big time.
Yeah,
that was good.
So now you're starting to get those guys involved. You already had Godwin and Evans, and this is a pretty good matchup. Now, the bad part about this is Alex Kappa is out with an injury, so you're going to have to see Earl Watford at the right guard. He's not going to play today. Scotty Miller, among others, but that's the major ones. And then the Bucs lose their punt returner in a TJ Logan. So Sean Murphy Bunting not only is going to play corner, but he's going to do double duty with the punt returning.
Devin Hester on line too.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
What, he's like 4 years out of the league? Devin probably lace him up tomorrow and play. But I'll tell you what, they'll go talking back to the defensive line and some of the different things in the offensive line is that winning is contagious.
Sure.
And just like you see what's going on with those Cleveland Browns this year. We've said this before, and I hate to use the line again, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. They have more number ones than the Beatles had.
Right.
I mean, they've got so much depth on that Cleveland team, but you see it right from Freddie Kitchens at the very top. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to double back on that. Wearing that T-shirt he wore last week, you can't be a player's coach. You know what, coach? You got to be a dad or a mom, and coach players aren't always going to like you. You can let them know you have their back. But sometimes you got to put them in their place. And I know it was tempting, and you wore that shirt that said, Pittsburgh started it and all. But that right there was the writing on the wall for me that says that Freddie Kitchens, regardless of what goes on in the last 3 games or 4 games this year, will not be back in Cleveland next year.
So open phone lines. We're about 30 minutes away from game time. Bucks versus the Colts at Raymond James Stadium. 813-699-5353. That's 813-699-5353. It's the evolution of Sports Talk Television, live here from Ferg's 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. Going back to Jacoby Brissett last week, 25 for 40, 319, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. The last 5 games, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Another matchup to look for. The Bucs defense, not good against the pass, but they're good against taking away the ball. In fact, they are 5th in the NFL with 21 takeaways, had 4 last week. So we'll see how that plays out at this point.
Yeah, I like that video I showed this morning, and I was watching Casey Phillips and the show last night on WFLA, the Bucks Report show, and I love that with the DBs when they were all hiking, center, or they were all, huddled together, and see a ball, take a ball, see a ball, take a ball, see a ball, take a ball. What are they going to do? We're going to kick their butt.
Right.
I mean, that to me is the preeminence of a young secondary who's starting to come together. But of course, it's going to be predicated upon that defensive line because, like we said, a great back end or a good back end is really made to look better by a great front end, and that defensive line will dictate the terms.
Yeah, dictate the terms, definitely. And speaking of back end, let's go ahead and take a look at a breakdown from Stephen Che of Barstool Sports on JPP and what he means to this defense on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Enjoy.
Jason Pierre-Paul really sets the tone for this defense here. Is lined up out wide outside the tight end. The tight end down blocks, doubling Vita Vea, and JPP reads the flow of the play and gets a hold of Leonard Fournette. Now, Fournette is 228 pounds. JPP picks him up off his feet and slams him to the turf. He's really a man among boys out there. He is lined up in the B gap in a 3-3-5 alignment, taking on the right tackle. He absorbs the right tackle shot and redirects towards the ball, making another tackle on Fournette. Outstanding play. JPP can also rush the passer. Check out this bull rush, just forklifts the left tackle back into the quarterback. Play doesn't go the Bucs' favor, but JPP shows great strength there. Here he is lined up out wide against the left tackle. He's able to rip through and get to the outside. JPP doesn't bring the quarterback down at first, but he is relentless, finishes the job, and gets his sack. He can also kick inside to defensive tackle and create mismatches there too. This is sick. It's just so fast left to run it back. He takes an outside jab, swipes inside, and he's there immediately at the quarterback. I mean, Nick Foles didn't even really have time to look down the field. I mean, look at this in slow motion. Look at how fast JPP beats the guard. No guard can match up with JPP as far as quickness, and at his size at 6'5", 275, he can kick inside. Here he is lined up again, one-on-one with the left tackle out wide. He does a nice job getting his hands inside the tackle and pushing off to get to the quarterback, forcing the incompletion. And as I said, JPP is relentless. Here going against the left tackle, they leave Leonard Fournette in to chip him. Fournette, as we talked about, is a big dude. JPP absorbs the chip to see Fournette is the intended receiver. At this point, he is so far behind him, but his motor and pursuit are unmatched. He hustles down to help bring down Fournette. JPP is the guy you want to build a defense around.
And that's the point. And welcome back to the Sports Web. That's why I say you have to sign him because ever since he's came back to this defensive line, he's helped out Shaq Barrett. He's helped out Carl Nassib and Vita Vea and Ndamukong. So I'm not saying they haven't helped him out, but having that veteran presence and seeing his relentless nature get after the quarterback has helped this defensive line get better and better every week.
If the Bucs do not sign him, and they will, they should, but if they didn't, I'll guarantee you. Well, there's probably going to be 31 other teams in the league, but I'll guarantee you there's a team down there in Miami who's currently going through a rebuild, and they're going to be a defensive-minded team, and they would be more than happy to have veteran leadership like that step in and continue. Because, it's not just we're talking about. We're not talking about gratuitous, always a veteran, and let's bring him back, because this guy's motor is still going at 110%.
And here's a player that basically, had the fireworks accident, is somewhat handicapped, but you couldn't see it on film because you could see he's just getting after it, continues to have that motor. So when fans are out there saying, you know what, I don't know if we should sign him, I say sign him. Tape don't lie.
Definitely.
Tape does not lie. And we're live here at Ferg's on the sports web, the evolution of sports talk television. Open phone line. Somebody tried to call during the tape breakdown. 813-699-5353. That's 813-699-5353. What's another matchup you're looking at in this game, Colts versus Bucks?
You know what? I'd like to see, well, first of all, our wide receivers, but I want to see if we're going to continue building on that O.J. Howard showing from last week. And I'd like to see Cameron Brate, if they want to figure out a way to try to shut down Chris Godwin and Mike Evans both, I'd love to see Jameis come out and run the ball with Barber inside and Rojo if he can pick those blocks up. And I'd like to see the Buccaneers be able to utilize their tight ends, because the reason why you have these varying tools on the team is so that they pick their poison. The opposing team picks their poison. And if they pick to choose Chris Godwin and or Mike Evans, then we go inside to O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate. Or then we go out of the backfield to Ogunbowale.
Yes,
I'm never going to get that name right.
I just call him Dare.
Yes. And I'd like to see, but you know what? We're at home today. The weather is so, I was talking to Johnny Dean about this, the professor, earlier. The weather is just so beautiful today.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you just love to see us just grind out a nice running game?
Sure.
Just control the clock, run it out, do a few passes just to kind of make things happen, but then stop that Colts offense, and let's just get a good Buccaneer win.
Yeah, and that was the other big story of the week. Ronald Jones being benched, of course, because, and I'll go ahead and give you this play from Stephen Shea once again on Ronald Jones. We'll take a look at this play, and we'll be back.
Ronald Jones was benched Sunday for screwing up an assignment in pass protection. Here's how it happened. The Bucs are in 11 personnel, have 2 receivers and a tight end to the right and a wide receiver to the left. Jacksonville's a nickel on their safety. Andrew Wingard creeped towards the line of scrimmage. He's coming on a blitz. Rojo sees him, but Donovan Smith picks him up as he and Ali Marpet shifted left. The nickel corner's also blitzing off the right side, and Rojo's late to see him. A likely miscommunication that results in a sack fumble. Based on the benching, it would appear Ronald Jones was at fault for not hearing the line.
Do you have any problem with that?
Well, part of it might be the fact that Rojo didn't trust the offensive lineman to pick it up. But the thing about it is, if you got to have trust in your players, and this offensive line has been showing improvement. So from that standpoint, Rojo should have saw that the blitz from the left was going to get picked up, and he should have been back to cover his assignment from the right, because that could have been a game-changing play. In fact, it almost was.
Yeah, it was almost a game-changing play, and it's one where Coach Arians says at the press conference on Wednesday, if he continues to miss that blitz pickup, which they had some problems in that game with pass play action, if he continues to miss that, he's going to be standing next to me. Well, so, and a lot of fans got upset because they thought that he hasn't held Winston accountable. I think he has, but basically this is the kind of coach you wanted in the first place. Right. This is the guy that's going to basically hold these players accountable when they miss blitz pickups, when they're not playing 100%. You've already seen a couple players being cut, Hargraves and Bobo Wilson, because of effort. And now you see a player that a lot of Bucs fans really like because he can bring a lot to that running game. But look, if you're not doing your job, and we talk about it all the time, when you're a running back and you get drafted in this league, you have to do 3 things: run with patience and vision, catch the ball consistently, and also blitz pickup, pass protection.
You got to make that block.
You have
to. And if, especially when it's not a run. But I tell you what, I work at UPS, and right now we're in the middle of the holiday season. It's real high season, and I got just one of the best supervisors, this guy named Rodney.
Yes.
Sometimes he's yelling at me, and he's yelling at me for something I didn't even do.
Mm-hmm.
But I realize he's yelling at me because he's actually yelling at the 13 guys behind me, because it's a team effort.
Sure.
And now I'm not saying Rojo didn't miss that blitz pickup. What I'm saying is that Arians is also making a statement to the other 52 players that this is not going to be tolerated. We have assignments to do. Let's do our assignments. Let's make sure we go out there and execute, and then victory will be the outcome.
Victory will be the outcome, and the outcome will be decided today as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are looking for their 3rd straight victory here to go 6-7 and keep their playoff hopes alive. You wrote an article this week. We've had plenty of articles on Bucs Report where things have to happen. Minnesota basically has to lose out. Chicago has to lose out, which they beat the Cowboys. So we'll see how these situations, the Rams, but
that was a little tongue-in-cheek.
I mean, there's a lot of things that have to basically happen, but at the end of the day, the Bucs really have to take care of your business,
And
their
that
own
was-
business.
And that was my first, right? The intro paragraph, was,
Right.
and the part that's most exciting is that the Bucks just needed to win out. So they got 4 games in a row, finished 9-7. And, of course, this week against the Colts, next week against Detroit, the following week in Texas against the Texans or Houston.
Yeah.
And then, of course, at home against the Falcons, who, by the way, now only lead the series 27-25. So if we can win again against the Falcons and make it 2 this year, we are 1 game within making it 500. And that's the culture that we're talking about.
Sure.
It's not just about always making the playoffs, always making the wins, always going on the runs. Let's start getting road, especially against the Colts. The Colts are up 8-5 in victories all time. We win today, we cut it to 8-6. Start getting the all-time. This way, because how many times do you open every NFL broadcast, the first thing Dick Enberg says is the all-time record between these 2 teams?
Dick Enberg.
Well, I went old school. Okay, well, let's say
I don't think he's alive anymore.
Harry Carey.
Dick Stockton?
Bucks win. Bucks win. But
all right,
how many
and-
times did he started out by saying the all-time
Dick
record? That's
Enberg.
literally one of the intros. That was for you, old school.
That's great. I love it. That would be NBC Sports. I tell you what, when a lot of fans this week were talking on Bucks Report Post and all across Bucks platforms on Facebook, Buck pages about how the Bucks don't have any chance at all. Here's what Coach Arians said on Wednesday about the chances.
And we talked about it this morning. So, if you want to feel what the playoffs are like, you're in it right now. All right, they're 1-game seasons, and you lose, you're done, and then you play for fun. But I've been in it with. We had to win 4. We won all 4. We were the 6th seed. We won the Super Bowl. JPP's been the same situation. So it's happened. It's been done. You just take care of your own business. You can't worry about anybody else.
That's what it comes down to.
Right.
Take care of your own business. Forget about, the other teams, because now you have to depend on those teams because you couldn't get that victory versus the Giants or Tennessee or the 49ers. You had to win those games, but now you basically made your bed and you have to sleep in it.
Right.
And you have to take care of your business and then hope that everything falls into place. If
Right.
it doesn't, what's the worst can happen? You're 9-7. You're on a winning note. You come in with a winning season with coming off of 2 consecutive 5-11 seasons.
You know what the best thing about this entire so far, the end of the season, how we're setting up?
Mm-hmm.
We're not sitting here talking about, if we were to lose 4 right now, we're at number 8 in the draft. What we're talking about is 1 more win and you beat last year's 5-11. We'll be 6-10. Stay out of the NFL or stay out of the NFC South Central or cellar. That's better than only Raheem Morris and Dirk Cutter were able to do for the last decade. Win 3 in a row, we finish 8-8. That's 500. And if you do the magic, you win 4 in a row, which I do believe this team is completely capable of. You may take some breaks. You finish with a winning record, 9-7. So every week, regardless of what the Bears do, the Eagles and the Cowboys from the worst division in the NFL, the NFC East, whoever the hell wins that, even if the Redskins come back and win 5 and 4 in a row and end up winning it, the Buccaneers week to week are playing for something, and that's what Arians is talking about.
That's it, and that's called building a winning culture. And I know there's fans out there that want this team to lose for a higher draft position because they want them to draft a quarterback or favorite offensive lineman.
We got our quarterback.
But that's what I'm saying.
We got our
You
quarterback.
got your quarterback. I can understand where the fans are coming from because you look at some of the good players on the board. But at this point, I'm kind of tired of doing the same thing over and over again. I'm tired of hearing the same song. I want this team to put wins together to carry over that momentum. And who knows? Like Coach Arians said, he was in Pittsburgh. They won 4 in a row as a wild card. They won the Super Bowl. JPP told you he's been through it. Do I think they're those type of teams? I don't know. But at the end of the day, you have to get in. If you can get in, we know that the Bucs can beat anybody in the league when they play their game. It's just going to be harder today without Alex Kappa on that offensive line.
And here's the thing. Since 1976, we've had, 43 years where we start out every year in August looking at the guys in camp. We start off every year in September thinking this could be the year. 79, it was the year. 95, 97 through 2001, it was the year. But what we're saying is instead of it just being to start the year off, who did we draft? Do we got a shot? We're talking about a cultural shift.
Yep.
Now, there was a cultural shift when McKay and Tony Dungy made that change and built this team, and we became one of the tops in the NFL. I'm not saying that's our ultimate goal here, although it is our goal. I'm not saying it's our end game, but it's a cultural shift, and it starts week to week. And today it's the Indianapolis Colts at Raymond James Stadium to continuing the shift of that culture.
Absolutely shift to the culture as the Bucs take on the Indianapolis Colts in about 16, 17 minutes here. I'm excited too. I want to see if this team can beat because a lot of people say, well, they beat the Jaguars, they beat the Falcons. They're not playoff teams. They're not good. Okay, now you got your shot. Now you've got a playoff team. They want to be a playoff team. They're 6-6. They're still in the hunt.
Oh yeah,
they lose to the Texans, but they still have playoff aspirations. Frank Reich coming in. Now, the great thing about this for the Bucs is that the Colts will be without their biggest weapon in T.Y. Hilton. In their career without Hilton, they're 1-8. They still have Zach Pascal, who had 7 catches for 109 yards, and you also have Jack Doyle, who just got an extension yesterday, 3 years, $21 million. He's making more than Cameron Brate. He's definitely been more productive.
Oh, they like their tight ends in Indy.
They like their tight ends
in
Indy.
You said Frank Reich, and I swear for like a split second I went, he's still playing?
Yeah, I mean, he's a coach.
But I'm thinking,
the Colts have been up and down. They're kind of tough to figure out, right?
Right, they are. And the thing is that you got to look to expose them. And I think that starts for the Bucs today by, even though the Buccaneers have the number 2 offense in passing in the NFL.
Sure.
Start with the run. You're at home and you're on one of the best fields in the entire NFL, although they all claim to be great now. But Tampa, Raymond James Stadium still has one of the best. Give Peyton the ball. Give Rojo the ball. Come out and run it down their throat. Control the clock, and then let our fans get loud. Because, one thing about Indianapolis, especially in the year where Andrew Luck retired, they're not traveling very well.
No.
Today should be a sea of red, and it should be a sea of noise for the home team.
And the offensive line has to do a good job. Without Alex Kappas, or Earl Watford will have to step up today, definitely open up those holes. I want to see how Ronald Jones is going to perform and how he's going to react with getting benched. I want to see how this running game, if they can do it, can Jameis Winston go through this game without turning over the ball and making that crucial mistake? Because, look, if you make that crucial mistake versus the Colts, they're good enough to make you pay, and that's what you don't want.
That's what you got to do. That's the way we win this game or have a shot is the mistakes, because we talked about the fact that this is a better – and that was one of the bright spots coming 2 weeks ago. We started looking at the schedule, and we said, okay, playoffs are kind of like literally maybe out there, but we had a shot. We had a shot playing the Texans, the Colts, and we had a shot at dictating who would possibly win that division. We could play spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
Today is one more game that we can continue to play spoiler, and that is by sending the Colts home with a loss and a 6-7 record.
Yeah, and speaking of homecoming, Marlon Mack, the Colts are going to get him back after a broken hand. He leads them in rushing with 862 yards, former USF Bull. So once again, this defense has a matchup where they shut down Leonard Fournette last week. You got to shut down another good running back. But if you can do that, I feel good about the Bucs' chances. Open phone line, 813-699-5353. That's 813-699-5353 on the Evolution Sports Talk Television, live here from Ferg's on Bucs Report. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Best of the Bay, Mr. Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy. Let's talk about the Colts defense. As we talked about the secondary being banged up, so that may be an advantage for Godwin and Evans, but you still have to account for Darius Leonard, much in the same way of Devin White, who's been unbelievable the last 5 games, now winning Defensive Rookie of the Month. Where are all the people that said he was a bust? But let's go back to Leonard. Kind of makes the same impact, 5 sacks. They move him all over the place. And even Coach Arians said in his press conference this week, he plays in the perfect defense for the Colts.
Am I reaching here, though? It seems like that we talking about the Colts. They like their tight ends. We talked about the Colts. They like their linebackers and the speed. And then, coincidentally, they were also coached by Tony Dungy when he left Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about the legacy of Tony Dungy and the years he spent in the different teams, the Hall of Fame coach Tony Dungy. And it seems to me over the last 5 years, other than getting Andrew Luck and having the success they had there, that the Colts actually kind of follow a recipe similar to the one we follow, which is also similar, coincidentally, to what Tony Dungy followed when he was a coach. Good tight ends, ball control, get those big controlling linebackers and control the line of scrimmage. I mean, it's almost like, I don't want to say looking in a mirror, but it is a good test for the Buccaneers today.
It's a good test for the Buccaneers, absolutely. I want to read some comments here really quick, and then we'll talk about something special going on today with the Bucs and across the NFL. Ari says, go Bucs. What's going on, Gavin and Jennifer? What's Jameis's quarterback rating? Laugh out loud. Worse than Jacoby. I don't know about that, but the last 5 games, Jacoby hasn't played well. Ori, I get it. You're not a Winston fan, but hey, stats are stats. You can't play with those stats. And also, Jacoby has a better offensive line than I think Jameis Winston. Will we agree with that? I think we would.
I agree.
All right, Jeremiah, is that Alexander? Yes, it is Alexander the Great in the background there barking, but he's being a good boy right now. We're feeding him chicken wings and everything else. Yes, he's just greeting everybody. Let's go. Frankie says, Jeremiah, hey, Ray, I work at FedEx. Very cool.
Oh, Jeremiah, we got a little competition going here. Give me a DHS delivery driver and what freeway.
Very good. Control the controllables. There's no quarterback in the draft that is caliber and maturity of Winston is. Is MJ Stewart playing? I don't think he is playing today.
No.
I haven't heard. Will the Bucs receivers get any yak today? I definitely think they'll get yak. That would be Saleh or Saleh Toyak.
Toyak.
I don't know who this guy is, honestly. I like to meet him.
I love him.
JW3 will throw a pick in the first quarter, usually does, but we'll play lights out for the duration. He's
You know what?
back.
He doesn't throw a pick today because the Bucs come out running, and the very first pass he throws is to Perriman for a 60-plus yard touchdown. I call it.
All right, so there is something that's going on special in the NFL. It's called cleats for cheer, or I believe calls for cleats.
Calls for cleats,
Calls
yeah.
for cleats. And I definitely want to get to this. Basically, football players that have a cause that they're donating their cleats to an auction for their cause. And here's Devin White's cause here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Enjoy.
So my cleats is my favorite horse, Daisy May. This was the horse that I took to LSU campus. I took her when I trained for Exos for the combine when I was in Texas. Horse went everywhere I went. I took care of this horse. Late nights at the Born in college was like the first horse that I ever took the most care of. You know, when I was growing up, my other horse, my pop took care of it. So she meant a little more to me. Unfortunately, she passed this summer right before I was getting ready to come here and sign my contract. So, I mean, it was kind of really one of the saddest days of my life because, you know, we had did so much together, you know, went on this journey. And, you know, she passed because of dehydration, you know, so, you know, I know that's really big with animals, you know, especially being in Louisiana where I'm from, you know, how hot and humid it is, you know, went on a trail ride and, you know, she got dehydrated. So I kind of like just want to kind of express her, you know, kind of let the world know that, you know, I'm still thinking about it. She still means the world to me.
There you go. My cause for
God bless.
Yes. I mean, and look, cause for cleats. He's definitely an emotional player. He's playing for Daisy May today. He's played out of his mind. All that bus stuff has gone basically by the wayside because it's amazing when a player gets comfortable in the defense and you give the opportunity to get healthy, what he can do. And once again, you can see this guy. He is a terror. He is all over the field. He is north and south. He is sideline to sideline. He is the real deal so far.
And I was tweeting at Devin yesterday, and I was just letting him know that I just, even though I can understand, you know, that there are other players in the NFL that are deserving of recognition, that I 100% thought that he should have got the Rookie of the Week this week. I mean, the Pepsi Rookie of the Week.
Sure.
But he did get the Rookie of the Month. But I did, when I'm going, you know, and that's the great thing about social media. I'm scrolling through the other tweets that I've seen from Devin and follow, and the very top one was, and he probably retweeted it, which is why it came back up top, was him riding Daisy May at the LSU Stadium right down the sideline, and he tweeted right underneath it, "Happiest day of my life." And you know what? That's so great. I mean, this kid, you know, first of all, you got to have something to play for, but second of all, he's such a mature young man.
All right, let's go out to the phone. And he's gone. I guess you have to call back or something. I don't know if it's his Wi-Fi or whatever, but 813-699-5353. That's 813-699-5353. You're on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Let's try this again. Welcome to the Sports Web. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, so my key to the game today is Rojo.
Okay.
Got to get him involved early, throw him the ball. Let me ask you, why do we only throw him the ball on third down? I don't get it.
Well, I mean, you definitely make a good point. You have to definitely get him involved on some screen passes and stuff like that. But I think, once again, it comes down to the main point of Rojo is not very good in pass protection. So you have to keep him out of there if you don't have the confidence. You see what happened last week, caller. When he was in there, he blew an assignment, and it led to a horrific play for Jameis Winston fumbling the ball.
Well, I get this.
Good
point,
stuff.
though.
Thanks a lot for calling.
He's saying, you know, what we get Rojo in there on first down and go to the heavy package, or no, just go to a nice high formation. And then once the defense, the linebackers, they get that extra bite of commitment up in there to cover that run because Rojo can bring it long north and south. Then we can, you know, throw it to Rojo out of the backfield. Yeah. But again, it does come down to the fact that our offensive linemen aren't exactly the best screen pass blocking type of linemen. So.
Yeah. Well, speaking of offensive linemen, this is my key of the game. the Colts offensive line versus the Bucs defensive line, and this is what Coach Arians had to say on Wednesday.
Offensive, we've seen some good offensive lines, but this one, Quentin Nelson he's kind of the tone setter for them. And Todd did a good job of showing the tape that you don't want to be embarrassed on it this morning. So their running game, and Frank does a great job. He's very unique with some of the things he does. So it'll be a good challenge for us to maintain where we've been stopping the run.
How do you see that matchup, Coach, with Nelson against your interior lineman?
It should be fun. It should be fun, especially with Vita and Sue. If we can keep those two guys on him, I like our matchup.
There you go. He likes the matchup, and I like this matchup, but it's a good test because this is a good line, not only Quentin Nelson, but Anthony Costanzo. And this is what you do with a young quarterback. You build a picket fence around him.
Right. Now, before we run out of time,
yes,
who's your player of the game today, Pete?
Player of the game today, I think it is going to be, let's see, I'm going to go with Evans and Godwin today. Those are my players of the game. I think they're going to expose that secondary.
You know what?
I like that.
I'm going to keep it along the lines of Johnny Dean, the professor, predicted, Bucs win, but, it was close. And I'm going to go on a limb here because I would just love to see this. I want to see a good game. I want to see Matt Gay, player of the game. Big field goals, big one to win the game. Make all your extra points and show us why.
That may be a factor in this game because the Colts, Adam Vinatieri, is out. So they signed a young kicker from San Francisco. He's accurate to a certain degree, but special teams for the Colts has not been very good at all. So
you have a prediction here before we get the game starts here.
Yeah, definitely. For me, I want to go with you first for your prediction, and then I'll go with mine.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and say Buccaneers 27-24.
27-24. I'll go 27-16 Bucs over the Colts. That defense comes to shine once again. That line gets after it. It's just a big-time test. I get it. The Colts have an offensive line, but they're going in a different direction. Jacoby Brissett, if you could put pressure on him, you make that offense one-dimensional. I definitely think that's where you have to go. And Marlon Mack coming off of an injury, he's not going to be 100% still with that broken hand. Yes, he's coming home. But that defense right now gets home, and they stop Marlon Mack. You like that?
I like that. How about your defensive player of the game for the Buccaneers?
Defensive player of the game, once again, is Devin White, playing with all that emotion, having Daisy May on his cleats, playing for that cause.
Is he not making a great argument for Defensive Rookie of the Year?
Yes, and even Coach Arians mentioned this week, that if he played in more games, he most likely would win that award.
Well, he's got 4. He's got a quarter of the season. If
Right.
he continues trending as he has the last 4 weeks, we see Devin White at the NFL honors night before the Super Bowl picking up Rookie of the Year honors. And that's over Ed Oliver, who won Defensive Rookie of the Week this week. And that's over Nick Bosa, who's going to win, he's doing well out in San Francisco. Devin White, the way he's trending, without a doubt, will be in the mix for that Defensive Rookie of the Year award.
Yeah, and again, the offensive line kind of concerns me with Alex Kappa being out because they necessarily haven't played that well. So Earl Watford has to have a big game, not
Next
only
man up.
pass protection, but also opening up those holes for that running game. The Colts, once again, getting back Marlon Mack and also Paris Campbell, who's the speed threat out of Ohio State as a rookie. So that secondary is definitely going to have to. And the kid's name is Chase McLaughlin, who they signed. So if it comes down to special teams, I feel good with the Bucs going in. So once again, this has been the evolution of Sports Talk Television live from Ferg's 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. For Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy, Best of the Bay, I'm your host, Peter Blake. Enjoy the game.
Go Bucs.
You're now in the Sports Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense.
My dad had a heart attack at 56 years old. He passed away at 63, and his main problem was high cholesterol. That was the main problem. And I've thought about that. I'd try anything to lower my cholesterol, to stop the chances of having a heart attack.
When I retired, I really had to be conscious about what I put into my body. Interestingly, I was also told I should probably take a statin. And I've always resisted medication like that because it feels unnatural to me. And so when I heard about this product that can naturally lower my cholesterol, lower my risk of heart disease and other types of conditions that come from having high cholesterol, I jumped on it. Has a lot of fiber in this, so it keeps you regular. It makes you feel good, and actually, interesting, it tastes good. You know, sometimes you see these things and you wonder what it's going to taste like. This one actually tastes really good. In fact, my kids even like having.
I'm also a 55-year-old guy that needs to stay in shape. I realized that my cholesterol was getting way out of hand. I went to the doctor and he said, you need to do something. But there wasn't anything to do other than maybe get on a statin, which I already knew was dangerous. And then I found out about cholesterol. Started taking it 3 times a day. 8 weeks later, my cholesterol dropped dramatically from over 300 to under 200. The good cholesterol went from 18 to 36. Cholesterol is what's keeping me healthy.
Independent studies have shown that Cholesterol users have seen their bad cholesterol drop by more than 21%. Triglycerides drop by some 50%. And good cholesterol improve by nearly 13%. Cholesterol supports digestive health. It has 3 great tasting flavors and has become the future in the fight for lowering bad cholesterol. You can find Cholesterol by ordering at www.cholesterol.com. You can find it on Amazon and at major retailers nationwide.